Hello, and welcome to the Fat Squirrel Speaks. Today is a day. It's Wednesday, December 11th, this episode 90. Sorry, I'm a little bit off today, and you will notice, if you are a regular viewer, that I am staring in a different direction than I normally stare in. I'm trying a new video camera. What do you think? Is it better? Is it worse? See, there's so much backlighting that unless I record at nighttime, then I look all crazy washed out and you can't see the yarn, which is really what's important. But we're trying the video camera. So this is going to be the trial episode, and you tell me what you think. If you don't think, then yeah, it's fine. We'll see. So I apologize if there is any excessive wonkiness in terms of sound. We're experimenting. Let's experiment together. Also, my husband is home, so I'm feeling very self-conscious about talking to you in front of him because I'm a human. He's like, I'm not listening to you. I'm like, I know, you don't listen to me when I actually talk to you, let alone when I'm talking to the internets. However, it still feels weird. So sorry, there wasn't as big of a hello as normal. I instantly felt very strange saying it. So, let's get to it. The first part of the episode, I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Amy Beth, also known as the Fat Squirrel on Ravelry, and the Fat Squirrel, that's SQRRL, on Instagram. And then I have Redact. It's really not Redact, because Redact is a correction, and this was just an omission. So I'm just filling in the omission from last week's episode. I was reminded that I did not mention what patterns I was wearing, or what knitwear I was wearing. So I apologize for that. And I did put it in the Ravelry thread, but I know sometimes people don't want to read the Ravelry thread. Although, get this. Let me show you a little tricky trick. Some of you will know this and will be rolling your eyes at me for not knowing this. But I think this is a new thing, and I'm very excited about it. It's very clever. Those people at Ravelry, they're so smart. So, when you go into a thread, like for example, if you're going into the Stockinette Zombies, their prize thread for the their self-striping knit along, and you just want to you don't want to look, because there's a billion entries, right? And you don't necessarily want to try to roll through them all because maybe your internet connection is not fast enough and it takes forever to load the pictures. Or you're just wildly impatient. Ravelry has started this new thing, which is terrible. Well, I think it's new, right? I just did not notice it forever. That would be embarrassing. But again, or even in this thread, where you go into the thread and you're like, I don't have time to read all these chitter-chatter chat-chats, but maybe she did mention what pattern she was wearing last week. If you go in, and this might be terribly awkward, I apologize. You go into Ravelry, you go into the thread you're curious about, and up here, underneath the title of the thread, it gives you how many posts are in it, and then it gives you this little picture of a sweater, and it has 2 patterns. So if you click on that, or touch it in this case, one day kids will not know what mouses are and will say you'll click on that and they'll have no idea where the origin of that was. And then it'll bring up the patterns that were mentioned in the thread. How clever is that? So in this case, this was our thread from last week's episode, and it does show you that I was wearing the Aphelion Cowl, which is a free, see, I still got problems, which is a free pattern on Ravelry, and it is by Charlisa Anderson. And that was just this dude that I was wearing. It's just like an infinity scarf, loopy loop. But I really like those ever so much because you put them on and then you don't have to think about them anymore. And maybe they camouflage a little bit of a little extra joy your body has right there. Maybe. I don't know. Just saying. It's an option. So there was that. And then also I was wearing my Rikke hat, R-I-K-K-E. Which I don't have to show you because I'm trying to be professional and filling in the blanks, but let's face it, I can only be so professional. And then, the other one. At the very end of the show, I did pictures, and I showed a picture of my husband's hat, and I didn't put it in the show notes because, quite frankly, I had no idea what the title of it was. I had no idea. And then somebody asked me on the thread, and I really couldn't find it because what I had done, like a fool, was I had printed the pattern off but not added it to my Ravelry library. And so I couldn't find it. I looked and couldn't find it. But then I found it in my purse because it was doubling as a super handy dandy grocery list. It was actually the Northcountry. And that is a free pattern by Rebecca Cahill, or excuse me, just Becca Cahill. I apologize. And it is written for, I believe, bulky yarn. La 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 la, chunky. It uses yes, bulky weight yarn. And so the only modifications, you couldn't see them in the pattern, but my husband likes his hats above his ear because he wears those ear warmer things that go around the back of their necks. And for some reason he doesn't want both those things. I guess that would be bulky. I don't know, whatever. And that was in Beaverslide Dry Goods Fisherman weight, which is what his sweater is made of. I was not trying to be matchy-matchy. I just knew he liked that color, and I had enough of it. Okay, so I think that is all the omitted, remitted, etc.s. Let's get into this week's episode. This week's episode will have spinning, knitting, and then it's going to have something random at the end. I can't decide yet. I have multiple options for you. But I think it's going to be happy time Christmas presents. I think that's what it's going to be. So just some ideas if you're buying for... I have a 6-year-old daughter, if you're newer to the show. I do talk about her way too much. Sorry. I'm a mom. I don't talk about her way too much, but when you don't have to... whatever. When I didn't have children, I was like, why does people with children always talk about their children? And now I'm one of those people. So I understand both sides of the coin. I try to stop myself, but I sometimes cannot. Sorry. So I have a 6-year-old, almost turning 7, in like a week. What? And so I will talk about one thing that we got for her that we were very excited about. And then I will probably also talk about a game that we played with our friends last week. So it will be kind of like, there are no shenanigans this week, sorry. But you could kind of call that shenanigans. It's like a shenanigan recap from the other week, because we played a game with our friends that we really enjoyed. So, I think that's all the preliminaries. Let's get into it! Spinning! Okay, so last week I was spinning. I showed you a full bobbin. Ooh, this is like a hot mess. This is some Cormo that was roving, and it was very rustic roving. It definitely has lots of vegetable matter in it, which I know you're supposed to pick out as you're spinning, but I don't always. Because I'm bad. So I have two, these are not full 4-ounce bobbins. Because I spun it long draw, it is so fluffy that it doesn't, 4 ounces would not even get on a bob. I think these are both like 3 ounces maybe. And somebody asked me just recently, I guess I haven't mentioned in a while, what kind of spinning wheel I have. I have both a Louette S10, which I bought secondhand when I learned to spin, because I got it on Craigslist. It's like I think it's like it's at least 30 years old, the wheel. But I wasn't sure when I started spinning if that was going to be something I knew I was interested in it, but I wasn't sure if I would really be in it for the long haul. So I didn't want to make a huge investment. Also, that was before I had my business, and I had very, very tight funds. I think I knit something for my grandmother to pay for that wheel. But, what was I going to say? Oh, so I got that wheel, and it is a lovely wheel. It is fine. It is a bobbin-driven wheel, which means that the drive band is directly attached to the bobbin, and that's where it's all happening. There's no scotch tension. There's no double drive. The only downfall of those wheels, and not everybody considers it a downfall, it's just from my perspective. The downfall of that wheel is that it pulls, the uptake is very intense. There's no way to adjust the uptake. It is just always on like that. And when you're trying to spin fine yarn, even as you become more experienced, it is a challenge. Very much a challenge. Now you can buy lace weight bobbins for it that I've heard great things about, but I wasn't sure that I really wanted to make an additional investment. It's also mine specifically is a single treadle. There's nothing wrong with the single treadle, but double treadle is a little bit more comfortable for me. So that's a lot to say that Louette S10 is a lovely wheel, but I grew to a point where I needed something that was a little bit more versatile. So how long ago? Not a full year ago, I bought a shot ladybug, or shacked, or whatever, ladybug, and I really like my ladybug quite a lot, and I did buy that one new. It's just a little bit more versatile, and really when I spin now, I don't think I have spun on my Louette. I think I've only spun on it once since I got my ladybug. I do sometimes ply on it because it has gigantor bobbins, which is an awesome thing. Like those bobbins I have gotten up to, I think 11 ounces on one bobbin, which is pretty awesome. The shot, not happening. You can buy jumbo flyers and stuff, but I'm not interested in, at this point, I'm not interested in investing in that. So that's what spinning while I use. These are the travel bobbins, which I think are now standard with the ladybug. And then these are the wood bobbins. I like the wood bobbins better. Maybe just aesthetically. So that was a lot of me talking to say that I now have this about 6-ish to 7-ish ounces of Cormo. And I'm going to ply them together with 4 ounces of Polwarth that I got from the lovely Heather at Highland Handmades. You probably can't see that. It's the Sand Shark colorway in her Pitch Pine Top, which is 100% Polwarth. So my idea is to apply these all together. I became obsessed with this and could not stop thinking about it. So I'm hoping that it turns out even remotely like I want it to. These may overpower this just a little bit, but that's okay. I think what it was is we were at Rhinebeck, we were looking at the Jill Draper Make stuff, and she had several, she had a whole section that was 3-ply yarn, and the 3 plies were different colors, and they were natural colors, but it really was cool looking. And so I thought, ooh, that'd be a way to like stretch some of my fun roving that's the hand-dyed or hand-tied top. It might be a way to stretch those 4 ounces and get a bigger project out of them, and then also use up some of the natural roving that I really do love, but sometimes it's not quite as fun to spin. Okay. So I've not applied that, as you can see, because I haven't. Because I immediately started spinning something else. I was done with that and was like, oh, let's start something new immediately, because those bobbins need to rest. They need to rest. Okay, so where's that at? Oh, it's in here. So right now, I am spinning this is so crinkly, I'm sorry. A Spin Your Own Socks kit from Unwind. Lovely Dana at Unwind. And this is a 80% Superwash BFL, 20% nylon. It's 4 ounces of a main color, which is this one. And then 2 ounces of a contrasting color, which is this one. So the main color is Wheaton, and the contrasting color is brown. And she has several suggestions when she sends you the kit about how you could spin it, and you could use this for like heels and toes. Or what I'm going to do is just spin 2 ounces of this, split this in half, and do a Tweedy 3-ply, also known as a 3D. Because evidently I'm in love with that, because I just showed you that other thing where I have different, whatever. So this is spinning up very lovely. It is, I'm scared to spin it super fine because it just doesn't look sturdy enough to be on my foot. I know it's going to get plied and it's so much stronger than we think it is, but oh my lord, it's just so skinny when I ply it. I have a bias towards fatness. When I was in college and I took drawing, my teacher did not like me because I made all of the models fatter when I drew them. She was like, that person is not that wide. And I was like, I know, but if I draw them as wide as they are, they look like they might break. So clearly, I have issues. Again, I've often said, if you're newer to the show, that I have the opposite of anorexia. Not to dismiss eating disorders, but you know, those women look in the mirror and they are so thin and they think they look fat. I have the opposite. I look in the mirror and I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Because evidently there's something weird about my eye to brain disconnect. Really, I'm rambling a lot. This new camera's freaking me out. Can you tell? I ramble a lot anyway if you're new. Like, I'm not pretending. But I think the new camera's freaking me out even more than normal. Okay. So that's the spinning that's happening. Okay, that's all the spinning. Now knitting. I don't think I have any finished objects. Oh, I also have some stuff I'll enable you at the end of yarnness. Yes, I have no spinning finished. I have no knitting finished objects. My knitting is kind of... I'm having a little bit of a drudgery issue. Which I don't know why. I'm knitting some fun things. I think I'm not knitting exactly what I want to knit right now. And so I'm having a little bit of a schlumpy-ish issue. Like, I feel like I'm, Usually when I sit down in the evening, like if my husband wants to watch a show or something like that, and I sit down to knit, I don't stop knitting. And lately I've not been knitting as much. I think it's just because I don't want to knit what I have to knit. You know what I mean? Or like I have some things I really want to knit, but I feel like I should be knitting on other things. So then there's like a whole thing that's happening in my head. You know what I mean? I'm not going to share. I'm going to show you very briefly. I'm working on my husband's sweater. I did finish the second sleeve. You're like, that is not a sweater. Trust me, this weighs like 4 pounds. It's because it's ribbed. So I did get to connect them. It's a cardigan from the Ann Budd book of sweater patterns. And he had looked, I showed him some stuff on Ravelry, and what he really liked was the 4x4 raglan cardigan. And so that's what he got, is getting something like that. So it looks very tiny, but you can see it's, when it blocks out almost flat. It's just that it's crazy looking though. And it's so rigid because it's not stretched out at all, that when I work on it, it feels like I'm working on like a pole. Like I feel like it has like an insert in it. So it's very rigid and hard to work on. But I think the finished project will be lovely. Because this yarn just blooms up and it gets way softer. It's awesome. And it's knit with Beaverslide dry goods in the 3-ply Fisherman weight. And the colorway is Hidden Lake. So it's 3-ply heavy Fisherman weight, 100% merino, 160 yards per skein. There's the skein. So I think it's going to be lovely. It's just right now it's schloggy. Not because, and it's not, and I think this is why I'm frustrated with it, is it's such a small stitch circumference. Because it's bulky yarn. It's for my husband who's not very big around. And I think that is like doubling the frustration of it. It's harder to work on just because it is such a heavy weight and because it's rigid now. But I feel like I'm like frustrated with it because it's such a small stitch count that I really should be done. What is wrong with me? I cast on a Miranda sweater for my daughter, which I don't have enough of to show you. And if you don't know what that is a short sleeve pullover with like a pocket. It's very cute, and I thought, I'll just whip this out. I started it 2 weeks ago, and I didn't show you last week because I only had like the collar done, and then this week I've proceeded not to work on it at all. What's wrong with me? My mojo is off. Okay, so there's that. Okay, then I showed you my collie wobbles last week. I did. I was finished with them, I think. With one sock, not the whole thing. Okay, so this week, so here we go. This is, I finished a sock. And I believe I put the ball band in here because I was trying to be a good podcaster, but no, that's not it. Tag on it. I really thought I put it in there for you. Oh, I just put it in the wrong bag. Okay, see, I'm still okay. This was gifted to me at the Knitting Pipeline Retreat, and I have to admit that I'm a bad, very, very bad person. I thought, I could have sworn that when it was gifted to me that I wrote your name on the ball band, but I didn't because it's not there. So I'm very sorry. It was such a lovely moment. I was at the Knitting Pipeline Retreat, and I had just announced that my grandmother wanted socks, but she wanted rainbow socks, and I couldn't find any yarn, which now I'm like, how is that possible? That I couldn't find any yarn, but I couldn't for some reason at the moment. I didn't know about Simply Sock yarn yet. And so one of the attendees at the Pipeline Retreat, and I can remember your face, I just can't remember your Ravelry name, was so sweet. And we had this like little moment where she brought it to me and she was like, I bought this for your grandma's socks. And I was like, oh my God, it's so cute. And I was still touched by it, and I'm actually welling up right now. But I'm such a jerk, I don't know your name, I'm so sorry. It's 3 Irish girls, adorned sock, 80% merino, 20% nylon, 3.5 ounces, 430 yards. And this is the Everlasting Gobstopper colorway. Are you ready? Are you ready? Bam. Now see, it's washing out just a little bit on the camera. It's a little bit jewelier than you're seeing. Like that looks very blue is actually dark purple. The camera just doesn't know how to make this happen because it's so amazing. Maybe it'll like it in a ball better. Do you think? What if I put it next to my face? See, look, it looks more crayon-y. It does not look crayon-y in person. It looks like close, but more jewelry toned than just plain blue. It's awesome. It's super duper awesome. So these are socks from my grandma. They're so cute. And they pooled a little bit right there on there, and then this yellow on this side. This yarn is, I really like this base a lot too. And so these are just plain vanilla top down socks, cuff down socks. They are 60 stitches in circumference because she has a very, very narrow feet. How did I not get that trait? Thanks a lot, genetics. With a plain old slip stitch heel flap and gusset. I think that's all. Hopefully they fit. Aren't they cute? Oh, I did one by one rib. I don't know why I did that, but I like the way it looks. I have a hair on there, sorry. Oh, that's why I did one by one heel rib. I was gonna do the Hermione's everyday sock, and I did about, I don't know, an inch of it, half an inch of it, and I just did not like it. So for this yarn, so I just ripped it back. You couldn't see it, and it was just like weird for this yarn. But it's not fun. So it turned out really well. I haven't started the second one yet. So aren't this cute? They might be a little crazy for my mama, but I feel like when I tell her the story of this, how I got the sock yarn, that she is gonna be super tickled. She's gonna be so excited. Somebody that she does not even know gave me the yarn to make her socks. She's gonna be so excited. Okay. So the next new to you project. What is up with me in the socks lately? Maybe this is why I'm not getting anything done, right? Oi. Oi. Are you ready? Oh my gosh. Okay, this again is not quite as beautiful. This red, which is showing up a little bit rusty from what I can tell, probably because I'm wearing a bunch of orange stuff. Oh my gosh, I'm totally wearing a sweater and I forgot to announce what it was. I'm wearing Twigs and Willows by Alana Dakos. You see it? And this is my yarn. That Squirrel Fibers DK, Superwash DK. Okay. Okay, so this red, if I get closer, it'll like take up more of the field and so the camera will understand it better. Let's see if that works. Still not working as well. The red, it's showing up a little bit rusty on the camera. It's reading a little rusty. It is a very jewelly red. It is like a ruby. It's like a dark, rich ruby. But the other colors seem to be reading pretty clearly. The green is a little bit, the light green is a little bit less bright than that in real life, but pretty close. Do you like this camera? I don't know. I feel like it's working. I don't want to get my hopes up. Okay. Plus, because of the size of my SD card, I'm limited to 55 minutes. So that's good for everybody, right? So this yarn, which is amazing, and I haven't even said who it's by. She is a new to me dyer. Juliana's, and this is her, I think it's Juliana's Fiber. Oh, there you can see it. Juliana's Fiber with an R-E, not an E-R, .com. And this is her Lucid Dream sock yarn. It's 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. It's 420 yards for 4 ounces, which is 113 grams. And machine wash shelf. Okay, this is Under the Mistletoe. Do you see it? Is it gorgeous? You're so jealous, right? You should totally be jealous. It's beautiful. Now, if you like it, she's in Canada. But if you like it, you need to contact her immediately because she's firm. And I'm not saying that she's still going to do it. I'm not saying that. But yesterday she posted on Instagram that she would take special orders for it. And if you're in the US, it will not get to you before Christmas. But let's face it, this doesn't have to be just for Christmas. Those are just beautiful colors. I'm wearing those all year round. Please. Let's not be foolish. But she is taking special orders. She was. Don't hold me to this. She might get overwhelmed. And we'll just lead right into enabling, right? Totally. Just plain old toe up. I'm going to do Afterthought heel, size 00s. These are my cheapo needles from China, which I love. If anybody bought these and they don't want their 00s, you can send them to me. I'll share them with Malia. Maybe. them. They're the best. I should just go buy like 5 sets of them and just steal the double zeros out and then give them as a prize. I'll just talk about them very briefly because Malia talked about them in her last episode. I think her last episode, if I'm not mistaken. They're very, I enjoy them quite a lot. Okay, I'm not going to talk anymore about that. I'm just rambling. Okay, but so back to Juliana's fiber. Yes. I also bought this skein. And it is Stars Hollow. Oh, one of the things I wanted to say about that. Oh, I'm so sorry. Beautiful transitions. Do you see that? Beautiful striping transitions. You're getting maybe 2 stitches, but I'm going to mostly say 1. Very much like the lollipop. It's like red, then it's green. And again, about 2 stitches maybe. But I've done some self-striping yarn lately where it has been up to a 15 stitch transition. I don't care for that as much. I'll be honest. I am uptight. I don't want to be, but I am. This has very nice transitions. You cannot, the transition does not interrupt the stripe. Do you see what I'm saying? Isn't that lovely? And I do like the base. It is a very plump, nice base. I'm enjoying it quite a lot. I cannot say enough good things about her. So I bought that one and I bought this one, which is, again, I think I said Stars Hollow. And then she was so nice, she sent me this one to gift to you. This is Ravenswood. Now it's reading more electric on the camera, and I apologize for that. It is a very jewelly purple, a lovely gray, a like smoky lavender. Well, I guess that could be considered blue. It's a jewelly purple. It's a very blue purple. A smoky lavender, a gray, and a mauve. So I'm sorry, it is reading much more electric there than it is in real life. But it's beautiful in real life. So that'll be a prize for you. And that'll either be 100 episodes or 2,000 members. I don't know. So I'm very excited about the quality of her sock yarn. I think she's going to be one of those folks that sells out immediately like Kirby Warby. The only reason I ever got my hands on Kirby Warby is because she sent me a skein because she's so nice. I've really tried so many times and been like, oh, dang it. Her self-striping is awesome too, as is Lollipop Yarns. I feel like now I'm missing somebody. Hiawassee Creek also does a lovely job. Okay, so that's that. So that's the enabling. I have more enabling, but I'll show you next week. I'm going to break it up because I've been out of control. Okay, we got 27 minutes. We're still fine. Okay, one more thing I will talk about. Since I was just like lamenting how I wanted to knit I'm not really super jazzed about what I'm knitting right now. I don't know why. So I'm going to talk to you about what I want to knit next. Is that okay? It's kind of silly, but that's okay. I would like to knit. I bought some Bartlett Yarns cone yarn, and it is a fingering weight. And I bought that at Rhinebeck. And it is a woolen spun, somewhat rustic yarn. And I want to knit the Carpino, perhaps. It is a sweater by Carol Feller. It's a lace front raglan pullover, and it's top down, which this is one of the Brooklyn tweed patterns because it's written originally for Loft. Yes, Loft, which is a little bit out of my price range for a sweater for my size. It's just a little bit more than I can afford to spend. It's beautiful yarn. I love it. It's gorgeous. But the Bartlett yarn, the Harrisonville yarn, is a good substitute. It's similar spin. It's not quite as soft. The Brooklyn tweed is made of Tarhi, which is a shorter staple wool, and it is very floofy and lovely and wonderful. I don't know what the Bartlett is made with, but it's not as soft. It's not as furfy. But I still enjoy it very much, and it's much more affordable. So here's my swatch. Now this is actually not the color I'll be using. I had a golder, it's not as gold as what was pictured in that pattern, but it is more of a brownish mustardy color, which is maybe not flattering for me, but guess what? Don't care. But I only had one cone of it, and it's 1,700 yards. And I believe for my size, I'm like right around that mark. So I use this one because I have two cones of this one. So I have plenty of this one and this for a different sweater, but so it'll work the same. I was a little bit worried. For example, the Harrisville tweeds, when they have their yarn in cones, it has a lot more sizing in it because it's made for weavers. So when you wash it, it's a completely different product. It blooms much more insanely, and like it's a big transformation. This, which I was thinking might be similar, not so much. It does get softer and it blooms a little bit, but the gauge swatch I measured before and after, and there was a negligible difference in my gauge, from pre-washing to post-washing. So the reason I was concerned about that is that is a length issue for knitting. Okay, so you wash your swatch, you lay it out to dry, and you measure your gauge, and you see how much you're on gauge. And usually I'm never on gauge, but I'll understand, okay, I'm 10% off or whatever, and then I make adjustments in the size for what I need, which is never a problem, except when you're measuring length. If you have a yarn that blooms significantly or blocks significantly longer, then for example, if the pattern is 13 inches to the armpit, you knit that 13 inches, you block the sweater, and suddenly you have 17 inches. So that's the reason I was concerned about it, but it seems to be relatively the same. Okay, so that's what I want to knit. I want to knit so bad. I don't know why. So there's that. Okay, so now let's talk about random stuff. So if you don't want to talk about random stuff, there will be a very small shop update on Monday, random. But I was afraid if I waited until that Friday, it would be the Friday right before Christmas, and I about said in the US. How bright am I? Right before Protestant Christmas. And so I was afraid that if I did that it might be a bad thing to try to get them to you. So I will offer them that instead that Monday, which I believe will be the 17th. I'm not sure now that I say that. It's either the 16th or the 17th, I believe, but it'll be a Monday, and it'll be at the same time because I don't want to be too crazy. So it will be at 9 p.m. Monday the 16th. 9 p.m. Monday the 16th. There will be a very small shop update, and I apologize, I don't have a sample for you. But I'll put pictures out and all that good stuff. Okay, so now randomness. So if you need a gift for a little person, and this actually will work for a lot other than little people, this is a great one. Why am I talking about gifts? Okay, so I know a lot of us get stressed out this time of year about materialistic stuff. I totally get it. 100%. I was looking for gifts for a friend's children, and I walked through the toy section, and I was so overwhelmed and flustered that I would just threw up my hands and left. Because it's just a bunch of junk. And perhaps my perspective is skewed because my child never has played with toys. I know that sounds weird, but she really is not a child who plays with toys. And it's not because she's some magical creature who has imagination and makes dioramas of rocks and fair. She's not even that. I mean, I'm not trying to say that she's awesome because she never watches TV and she doesn't play with toys. No. She just doesn't play with toys. She's me. She's overly analytical. And unless there is a clear progression of how something is supposed to go, she does not get how to play with it. She's totally my kid. I'm sorry. Sorry, Toba. So we play a lot of board games. She is into a lot of crafting stuff, but she has never been interested in toys. Like, she's never had a Barbie and has no desire to have one, which I'm totally okay with, okay? So, that said, I get overwhelmed by toys. My husband is laughing at me. He says he doesn't listen to me. He's totally listening to me. Do the dishes. Take out the trash. Anyway, she does not play with toys. So it's very overwhelming to me to understand how to buy things for other people's children even, because I just am like, what do people do with this? This is just going to be something you step on and it's going to be in your house and it's going to be a mess. Okay. But the thing is, you'll sometimes find fun to give gifts, right? So I'm not, whatever. You do your own thing. But here's an idea. This is a hot button issue, right? So here's an idea. This is the Encyclopedia Prehistorica by Robert Sabuda. and Matthew Reinhardt. Have you seen these? I know a lot of you have. But if you haven't seen these, you're about to witness something amazing. Are you ready? Are you 100% ready? These folks do pop-up books, right? Pop-up books, those are fun. Now, if your kid is not into dinosaurs, because they're a mutant or something, I don't know. They do a ton of them. Like my daughter, this is the first dinosaur one she has. Still a dinosaur one they have. But she has a lot of storybook ones, like Cinderella and Alice in Wonderland and Peter Pan. 3 of those are excellent. If you have a younger child who you're not afraid of ripping this up, there's also a Stragonona one. We love Stragonona, okay? But it is much more simplistic. The text is much easier. My only complaint about the books is, and it's a half-hearted complaint. For example, in the traditional story tales, like the Peter Pan and the Cinderella, it's full text. Like, it's the story is not a abridged version of the story, which is a lot of text. So I don't know how to explain that better, but it's a lot of text, especially if a child who wants you to read the whole thing. It's too much text for a child to sit through. In a regular, you know, like a 4-year-old in a regular sitting. Okay, but you're like, that's amazing, right? Wait for it. There's all these like sidebars. Right? Isn't it awesome? Now see, this I think has a great amount of text. You can see. I mean, clearly you're not buying this necessarily for the story. It's the wow factor. But, oh, I showed you that one already. Do you see the volcanoes? And you know, you would think like, oh, that's never going to hold up. They're pretty sturdy. We've not had, I think we have like a couple different ones where a piece has come off, but for the amount of detail they have, they are surprisingly sturdy. So you see that there's not just one of those little bead flaps. There's this one up here. Right? Do you love it? Like, look at that detail. See, these are the archaeologists fighting over the digs. I'm not going to show you the whole book, don't worry. And then there's another one down here. So these books, I think they are, yeah, even the sticker price is $29.99. And again, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 on this page, extras. But on Amazon, they're often like $22. And again, multiple side things that open up. There. Like, what else is that? So how cool is that? Again, if you even if you just do if you do an Amazon search on Robert Sabuda, it's S-A-B-U-D-A. There are now there's some of them that are wildly expensive because they are out of print now, and like I really wanted to get her the prehistoric mammals one because it looks awesome. But it's retailing for like $65 to $100 because it is no longer in print, and so now it's a collector-y thing. So that's a great gift. And again, about $20-ish, so not a terrible price point. It's going to go on a shelf, so it's not going to be anywhere for anybody to step on, and it's amazing. Especially if you have boys, you know, that are, again, this is my daughter is a girl. She's a daughter. We don't gender a lot of stuff. Just, it's not really intentional that we don't gender. It just doesn't come up. So, you know, but especially if you have a boy who's not really into reading or maybe not into books as much, this might be a great way to get them engaged. There's also a shark one. It was hard not to buy the shark one too. But come on, we're out of control. Okay, so then one more thing. So we do a lot of games. This is a new to us game. It's called Telestrations. We have the 12-player party pack because we have a group of friends, and there's about, are there 8 adults? There are 8 adults. And I think the regular size one has 8, is enough for 8 people to play. But the great thing about this game is is totally appropriate for children. As long as your child can read and write relatively well. I mean, not great, like kindergarten-ish, first grade-ish, probably. My child is in first grade. She does read at a slightly higher grade level, but so that's just gauge it. Like, can your kid write alley cat? Can your kid write zipper? Can he read that? And they can have a buddy, you know. But so what it is basically a morph of telephone and Pictionary, kind of. Like, that's the best way I can explain it. Is that a good way? I don't know. So we're Cards Against Humanity, folks, but as I talked about a while ago, Cards Against Humanity has kind of lost a little bit of its luster. So we were looking for something new. That was easy, that was very easy for everybody to learn, that was funny and silly and engaging. So this worked. And again, all the kids played it. We had oh Lord, is she 12? I think she's 12, and 2 7-year-old, or now they're 8, and my daughter who's almost 7. We all played, and it was awesome. What it is you get these little binders, and you write your name on them. You get erasable marker, the dry erase markers, and you all get a little doodly-doo wipe. So you write your name in there, and then you write, everybody gets a card, and then you roll the dice. So for example, if we roll 3, your clue is pound cake. You write pound cake up here. Nobody can see it except you. And then the first round, it depends on how many people you have playing, but one of the possibilities is that you try to draw a pound cake. Without using words, you try to draw a pound cake. Then you pass it to the person, let's say to your right. They get the picture, they look at the picture, and they try to guess what it is. So they write, maybe they get cake, but maybe they think chocolate cake. So then the next person gets this, and they get, okay, chocolate cake, so they have to draw chocolate cake. Okay? And it goes around and around and around until you get yours back. Now perhaps this does not sound as funny as it really is, because it's hilarious. For one thing, it's fun to have everybody trying to draw stuff, because even though we have artists in our group, actually we have a disproportionate number of artists, of which I am not. It's hilarious to get to them, because again, you're like, how do I draw a pound cake? How do I make that happen? How do I draw a satellite dish? How do I draw a setting duck? And then again, you get this picture and you're like, what the heck is that? But what's fun is at the end of the round is to see the morph, to see how it went from alley cat to kitty cat to space cat to black hole. You know what I mean? Like, because sometimes they'll be pretty much on. When it's like a cat, it's very easy to try to keep the cat theme, but sometimes they get wildly off. And sometimes they go wildly off and then come back, which is even better. Like, I think we had one that was Japan, and so the 6-year-old, no, 8. The 8-year-old drew like a pagoda kind of a thing, which is pretty impressive, right? That's the smart kids up in y'all. Even though that's not, you know, whatever. It's good enough. And so then somebody drew, I think they guessed pagoda or something, and then somebody guessed like chopsticks or something, and then but then it came back to Japan. It was awesome. So this is not a terribly, I believe the party pack is in I think the standard version is in about the $25 range, and I think the party pack is like about the $30 range. And I might be lying. The standard pack might just be 6 and not, I think I said 8. But you can find that out. Okay. I think I also saw this at Barnes & Noble, if I'm not mistaken. Like our Barnes & Noble, I know some of them are having trouble and they're doing a lot of different stuff. But ours has always had a pretty decent little game section. And I don't remember if I've seen it at Target or not. Ugh. Yes, okay, here we go. Telestrations. The regular version is $20 on Amazon as of today. Oh wait, there's shipping because it's no longer sold out. Whatever. So it's a ballparky. I guess the regular retail price is $29.99 for the standard version. And then this is probably like 50% more or something like that. That was not helpful, was it? But what's helpful is this is a fun game. Again, party-like game for lots of people who are not necessarily into playing like Agricola with you. Friends. Okay, so I think that's all. I hope you have a lovely week. Yeah, That's all. I'll see you next time. Bye.